Alright, we're up to part 10, my Dora build. Railroad cars are 99% done. I've got to put the decals on them, but I ran into a little snafu with the decals, and I'll explain that at the end of this video. You'll see what I ran into. So that's about all I got to do is get them decals on there, and they are complete. So I got to thinking, you know, here we are, part 10, and I'm finishing the railroad cars, and it took me 5 parts to do the base. So that's any inclination of what we got to come. 5 parts per section. Like I said, I broke this model down into, and I got 3 more sections to go. That's 5, 10, 15 more videos. So we're looking somewhere around close to 30 videos to get this done, if it works out that way. But I got the, you know, I'm kind of fascinated about numbers, you can tell. And I got to looking, I had 474 pieces I had to put together here to make these railroad cars. Now you take that and count what I had to put together on that base. I made all them extra little pieces that went in the center that connected the 2 ties together. So when you add all that up, plus the track that I had to put on there and the base itself, there was over 600 pieces there. Because if you remember, each and every one of them little pieces that I put in between the railroad ties, I cut 4 little pieces of plastic that look like spikes. So you add all that up. So I'm well over 1,000, close to 1,090 pieces so far. All right, and we still got 3 more sections to go. So that's why we're only at video 10 and just getting the railroad cars done. All right, so I know this is going to be a long video, up in the 40 minutes again. So let me get the camera turned around here. I'll quit talking and take you along with me as far as putting these cars together and getting them all sprayed and painted and everything. Alright, so here we go. Okay, here we go. So this is what I'm up to right now. I'm getting these cars here prepared for my putty. I've got 4 of them done, where I've got my putty in there, just waiting for it to set up, and then I'll sand it. And I got 4 more to go. So here's kind of what I'm doing. I'm taking the car and I'm looking at it from a different angle and this and that, and I can catch the light and I can see some of that glue that built up on there. Okay, now it's no big deal, the putty would cover it up, but I want to get a nice smooth surface there for that putty to adhere to. And there's something back here, I don't know what that is. Could be a glob of glue, I don't know. That's the first one I seen that on. There's a little line right there. Huh. Maybe I did something and cut it with a knife, I don't know. But I'm just going across this real fast just to knock down any unevenness and get some of that glue residue off of there. And also when that glue seals together these 2 parts, sometimes it'll be like a welded seam and there'll be a little raised area of plastic in there. So I'm just getting this all smoothed out nice and even to take my putty. Alright, so let me finish this up. See, I got a little bit of unevenness there. I want to sand this a little bit. So let me finish this up and I'll come right back and we'll show you the putty. Okay, I'm back. So I'm going to put this putty on now. I got all 4 of these primed or sanded, ready to go. What I'm just using is some of these little, I don't know what they are, little, I wish they had a name for them. They don't. Just different tools that came in a pack. I think there was about 5 or 6 of these. I think some people call them dental tools, but I don't know what they would be doing sticking something like that in my mouth. So all I'm doing is just taking the putty, and I found this one that's kind of squared like that. That seems to work best. Looks like a little shovel. And this area is really kind of a small area. I can't get my finger in here to spread this out because there's a couple raised pieces that are molded into the plastic. So I'm just taking this and spreading this on here over that seam. And that's all there is to this. No big deal. And I haven't had this white Tamiya putty out. Oh, it's been a good year, probably a year and a half. I don't know the last time I used it, but it's still good. And if I remember right, this sand's real easy. Probably in about 20 minutes I should be able to start sanding on this. I figure I'll just go ahead and get them all done. And then once I do, I'll start back on the very first one and start sanding it and getting it ready to go. Alright, so I know you don't want to sit here and watch me do this. So many of you guys probably already know, and don't need me to tell you. Oh, I want to show you something here. If you remember the last video, why I've only got some of it painted and some of it not. Well, the seam line is one of the reasons, but if you look at it in here, inside here, how I had to paint some of this before I could put the wheels in, you can see now why. Because once those wheels are in, there's no way I'd be able to get down in here. I don't care how good you are with that spray brush and get all that's being hidden and covered up by them wheels. So that's why I had to do it that way. And yeah, I know I'll probably be getting some primer on this and have to repaint it, but at least I got that inside there done. And I got something I'm going to do to help keep the damage from the new primer getting all over the place so much. So, and speaking about spraying, if you remember in the last video I told you how I had to keep stopping with my spray gun to clean out the tip. Well, I got the researching on the internet, and of course it's been out there for years, I'm sure, and I didn't know it, but I just come across it because I was in the process of spraying. But that seems to be a very common problem, to have your tip clogged like that, and that you have to constantly stop to clean out that tip. So it's just not me and that new spray gun. That seems to be a very common problem. I think personally, after I got to thinking about it, you know, I never had that kind of problems in the body shop, you know. Well, you had a much bigger gun, and the thing was too, you were spraying with a much higher air pressure. You're spraying this stuff at such a low air pressure that there's not enough air there to push that paint out of the way. That's my thought. I don't know, I may be wrong, but got to be a reason for it. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, and we'll be back after that. Once I get the sanding on this, I'll show you what they look like. Alright, so here's where I'm at. I went ahead and used this Tamiya white putty. I like this stuff. This is pretty nice. It dries, I'd say within an hour. I was going back to the very first railroad car and sanding on it. So it dries pretty fast, and it sands pretty easy. You know, I mean, as easy as sanding can go. And then once I got that all sanded, then I came along and I showed you, I think I showed you this before. I took some of this surface primer by Tamiya, and I took a little brush, just a little small brush, alright, and I put that on up. I went back over where I had, over that seam line. Now I started sanding on this a little bit, but you can see that surface primer right there. Alright, went back over that seam line, And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking a finer grit. I flipped this over. There's two different types of grit on this little sanding stick. And you can see as I use it, I take a pair of scissors and cut it down so I get a fresh edge. But I took a finer grit, and basically I'm just sanding pretty much all that surface primer off. That was I just put that on to make sure I got any little spot that maybe that putty didn't fill in, or maybe I sanded it off too much. And I'm just sanding this down and getting rid of pretty much all that surface primer I put on there. And it's coming out nice and smooth. You can see one here that I've done right there. Now what I'm going to do next is I got to clean up all my area here. I got to get rid of all this sanding dust I got. Get it all cleaned up. Then I'll take my airbrush without any paint or anything. I just want some air. And I'm going to take and blow everything off real good because I got sanding dust everywhere. It's all inside of here. And I'll take that alcohol, that rubbing alcohol, and wipe it down and blow it off so I can get rid of all this sanding dust. Matter of fact, there's a little piece of, see, little things you got to watch for. A little piece of that putty. I must have transferred it with my finger over to there. And I'll look at everything real good, make sure I ain't got no more of that kind of stuff around. And I know what you guys are saying, you know, well, you already got this side painted, you got all this painted, now you're going to primer, and you're going to get primer all in there and all that. Well, I anticipated that. You know, I knew I was going to come up against that. So what I done was I found me some thin pieces of cardboard I had, all right, and I notched them out for where the axles are on these railroad cars. So I notched them out, and what I'll do is, and it has to be a thin piece because there's a spring, you know, when you put these together, there's a leaf spring down inside of each one of these, and this cardboard has to go between that and the wheel. And so that's why I had a piece of cardboard, but it was just, I bet it was a nanometer thicker than this, and it wouldn't work because I got to get two of these in there. All right. And they just slide right in there like that. Now, 90% of my primer will not get into the inside. Okay. And so that ought to alleviate that problem. I'm going to have a little bit here and there. It's no big deal. You know, I can shoot it with paint if I see it. So there you go. I made 4 of these things because I didn't have enough cardboard. So I'll do 2 at a time and then have to let it set and pull that cardboard out and go do 2 more. Alright, so that's where I'm at. Got to finish sanding this, clean up my mess, and then I'll be primering again. Okay, so here we are. Everything is assembled and ready to be primered. All 474 pieces later. I used up everything I had from a couple videos ago. I had this thing full of parts. The only thing I got left, some little pieces that didn't fit that I had to make. Used everything there was. Everything had a place, and every place had a thing. I got to be real careful when I start painting. I got some little bitty parts on here. These little things right here. There's 2 on each side, and let me show you this. I'm gonna bring up a background here and show you this. But these little things sticking up here, if they don't get broke off before this model is done, it will be something. See them little things sticking up there? I was going to hold off and put them on later, but I thought no, it'd be better to do that now since it's bare plastic, and that it's easier to glue things together when it's bare plastic. If I was to go ahead and primer it and paint it and then try to stick them on there, I don't know how good of a bond I would get. So I went ahead and put them on. But I'll tell you what, those things sticking up like that, if I don't break them off, I don't know. This one, these weren't too bad. All these got, and I know you probably can't see it. Let me show you the other side. There they are. They got a couple of those little things too. That's all these kind of rail cars got. 2 on each side. But yep, I used up all the parts I had. I got all the railroad coupling put together. All that stuff. And let me show you something here. You see these little bumpers, I guess they are when they hook up the rail cars. Well, the directions here, if you can see this, let me point to it. This one right here, it's got like a bullseye on it. Got 2 circles on the outside of it, and the other one is plain. Well, I didn't get that. All mine were plain. I didn't understand why they would have only 1 on each car like that, but all of mine are plain. There is no 2 circles on one of them. So, but yep, that's it. It's after 9 o'clock p.m. where I'm at right now, and I about had it for today. The wife's outside on the patio talking on the phone, and I can hear little Miss Molly upstairs rip-roaring through the house. So I better go up there and check on her, see what she's up to. Alright, so that's it. The plan is to come down here tomorrow and get all this primered up and get the railings on them bridges primered up. And then I'll probably let that set for a day, and then I'll come back and paint. Because I want all this glue on all these little bitty pieces and on these 2 things up here to set up real good, get good and solid before I go painting. I'll probably hit them with the airbrush. Okay, that's it for tonight. I've had enough. Like I said, 474 pieces. So, okay, that's it. I'm just babbling on now. Alright, so there we go. Everything is primered. Got the railings done on the bridge. Got those all primered. All the cars are primered. And no, I did not break off those little things yet. So I got the cars all primered. And that little thing with the cardboard I did, what did I do with them? This little thing here. Sticking them up in there like that. That worked out great. Kept most of it off from the inside. Hardly anything on the inside. Just a little bit. I'll be able to hit that with the paint. But everything's looking real good. And I even did the one side of the photo etch. Got it primered. So, next step, come back down here tomorrow, start painting. Get all this painted. Looking good. That primer, I turned my air down just a little bit, and it worked out pretty good. Put it on nice and easy. You know, I didn't flood it like I did the last time. If I turned the air down, it took me like 2 or 3 coats to get things covered this time. So it's coming out pretty good so far. Yep. By this time tomorrow, I hope to have this all painted. Alright. We'll be back. Alright, so here it is the next day. Everything is painted. And let me tell you something, the more I paint this German field gray, the better I like it. Now I know it's showing up, I'm looking at the little lens here, and it looks more gray than it does the green, but it is still got a greenish tint to it. Let me bring one of these up here. So they look kind of gray back there. Yeah, the light's hitting it, but it's still got its greenish tint. But I'm starting to like this color. I think it looks pretty good. But all those parts are painted. My next step is going to be putting some clear on it so I can get my decals on. Now I did a little test. I had a piece of cardboard here in my spray booth. I sprayed some paint on it, and then I hit it with this clear because this is a lacquer. Now I wanted to make sure I didn't have any problems. It didn't wrinkle up or cause any kind of weird problems. So it looks like it's going to work. So I'm going to let this sit for at least a day. I got all the photo etch painted, but I think I'm going to have a little problem with that because it could be because it was still wet when I touched one of them and the paint came right off. So I had to spray that little where I put my fingers at. But that's no big deal. I'll get it down on there, and then if I have to touch it up, I touch it up. But here's the, I know Dave up in Canada, if you're watching this, Dave, I think you said you pretty much bought the same setup I had. This is that airbrush, master airbrush that came with my compressor. It's got a 0.3 millimeter needle in there. That's what I've been shooting with. One thing I noticed though, let me turn this around here if I can. Hold on, I'm trying to turn this around. I got to loosen up a knob here. There we go. That little air compressor on the back side, right here on the back side where the on-off switch is, that thing was getting so hot I couldn't touch it. So what I done was I brought me a fan down here and put a fan on it, and then I was using it a whole bunch again, and then I could touch it. It cools it down pretty much. So anybody's got one of these or got an air compressor like that that gets hot, you might want to put a fan on it. I don't want to burn it up. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it. All the parts are looking pretty good. Everything come out real good. Any place where, like I said, when I was painting these with primer, I turned them over and got down in there where any of that primer got in. And it doesn't hurt it that bad because it gives it the gives it a little bit of a shadow effect if there is any in there, but I don't see none. I pretty much got it real good. The seam lines that I filled in look real good because the decals have got to go on them. So I'm happy with it so far. Only took me 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know, 4 weeks. How many videos it's been that I've been working on this. So I think that's pretty much it. Had to stop a couple times. Like I said, every 2 or 3, probably every 4 parts that I painted, I had to stop, take that little end of the needle off, or little end of the air. Here, let me show you. I had to take this little thing off and pick off a little piece of paint that was on the end of the needle, and then clean this out, this one here. So I did that. I did about 4 of them, then did that, had to clean it out, did 4 more, cleaned it out, did 4 more. Then when I was all done, I tore her apart, took off the back, pulled the needle out, cleaned it all up, got it all nice and spiffy. These were the hardest parts. These took me a while to paint because once again I had to get down inside of all these ribs here, and then I had to shoot all these rails from top and bottom and everything. So they all come out looking nice. I'm pleased. It's still drying. I just got finished. took me with messing with the airbrush and mixing, and that's another thing. What I was doing was, this is my thinner that I bought, my airbrush thinner. Okay, I was putting about I'd say I was putting about 40 drops of that in my cup. 40 drops of that, and then I was putting 50, maybe 55 drops of the paint. So there's more paint than thinner. I went to a 50-50 mix one time when I had to switch, you know, when I ran out, and the 50-50 mix was going on too wet. Came out of the gun better, but it was too wet. So I went with more paint than thinner, and makes you have to put on 2 or 3 coats that way, but it went on better, and it flows out nice. I'm pretty pleased with this Vallejo color. If I ever buy it again, I'll probably go with the Model Air, I think they call it. I got the model color where you have to mix it. But, you know, I just had to play around with it and play around with the air. I'm probably shooting right around 20 pounds of air. That's what I was using. Alright, so can't think of anything else. Just a matter now of waiting for it to dry and then hit it with that clear so I can get my decals on there. And yeah, I found out the decals go on the inside and out. There's decals go on the outside. Well, this would be the outside. Decals go on the outside and on the inside. And like I said, they give you a decal call out for those, but they give you no decal call out for these little rail cars. And I'm sure they probably go on both sides too. So I'll have to work off of that big sheet like I showed in one of my other videos. Okay, I think that's it. I've been down here about 4 or 5 hours messing around. So I'm almost done with this step. This would be, if you watched, I broke this whole thing down into about 5 separate models. This would be model number 2. The base was model number 1. So once I get the decals on here and get this all finished, then it is on to this. And there's probably another 400 parts go on there. Alright. I think that's going to be it for this video. Oh yeah, this, anybody wants to know, this was a model G22 airbrush. Because they give you a bunch of model numbers on here, but this was the G22. And you want to pause the camera or pause your video and look at that. That's what I got. Working out pretty nice. I'm pretty pleased with it. For being a cheapy little gun, I would say it's a cheapy little gun. Probably don't cost $25, $30 if you was to buy it. But like I said, I got on my planning board to get me a new airbrush. I think I'm going to go with the what the heck's the name of it? It's a Patriot 105. Can't remember who makes it. I don't comment. I'll figure it out. I got a piece of paper over here with it on there. Okay, well, thanks for watching on this one. I think that's going to be it for this. Maybe, you know, if I get the decals on or something, I got time on this video, I'll put it up. But I kind of got the feeling it'll be next week. Alright. Alright, had a little bit more time on the rear of this video, so I thought I'd throw this in here. This is the next day, and I went outside and took my can of clear and sprayed the sides of it. Most of the cars have got clear all over it. I didn't clear the top of this, but that's not where I'm going. But you're seeing these little pieces of white paper on everything. Well, I pretty much got the cars and the bridges set up the way they will go. These two cars go together. These cars really don't matter. They're all the same. So just as long as you got this angled part towards the inside, you're okay. These two cars are a little different because this has got that winch on it. I'd be using my pointer. Got that winch on it. So that makes these two different. So they're pretty much set up the way they go. And the bridges have to go on a certain way because the steps go next to these boxes. Okay? And these railings have to be on the outside. So these two cars will go together and this bridge will go with that car. Same way on this, same way on that, and that. Now, here comes the problem. Started looking at the decals. Okay? And I noticed that they got each car and each bridge numbered. There's a different number on each one. So it's not too, I mean, it's really, it's pretty hard to figure this out because I'm having to look at this number 10. That's a number, points up here to a number that goes on that car, on that car, on that car, on all of them. All right, so I look at number 10 here on the decal sheet, and number 10, I have to look at this. Number 10, and it's really hard to read this because they're white on that light background. All right, there's two number 1s, two number 2s, all the way up to two number 8s. And then they give you another set of them. So actually there's 4 1s, all right? And 4 2s and all the way up to 4 8s. But I don't need all that. It looks like each car only gets one number on each side. So I would need 2 number 1s, but they're giving me 4. So I don't know where, you know, the other 2 are supposed to go. But I'm trying to figure out what car is numbered what. And it's almost impossible looking at this sheet here. I've got my, look, I got these magnifiers on and I'm putting this extra little thing down here so I can see, and it just, I can't see it. It gets, when you get that close, everything gets pixelated. So I kind of figured out these 2 cars here, all right, or I should say 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's because they're showing this car right here as number 2. And actually it's backwards. I got my gun facing this way. So this is number 1. And if I can see this good enough, this does look like number 3. And then they jump over here to number 2. And then number 4. Alright. Now it comes time to numbering these cars. Now you would think anybody in their right mind would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No! This is probably why they lost the war. From what I can see and the best I can make out, the odd numbers are on this side. So they got 1 and then 3 and then 5 and 7 and then 2 and 6 and 8 and 4. That's the best I can make it out. Does it make a big difference? I don't know. And this ain't the only problem. I don't know if it makes a big difference or not. And then you would think, since this is the odd side, why have they got the odd numbers of these bridges on the even side? So I got to do some research. I got to get on the internet, see if I can see some pictures of the real gun, get some close-ups, whatever, because I really can't go by what other modelers are doing, because I'm sure they ran across this same problem. I just happen to be looking at them and thinking, well, there's a bunch of numbers here and they're different. Now, you also got this one here that goes in the middle of this bridge, okay? So you can see they got it number 1 and number 1. So, let me see. That goes on that car. Yeah, that's right. So you got to watch these big decals that go in the middle because they're numbered. So you got to get them also figured out. All right. And I can't read German. So I had to get on the internet and look up some of these words just to see what they meant. Where was that at? I was reading that. Oh, it was on... Okay, here comes my other problem. This right here, there's a decal goes on the larger bridge right there. They only show one decal on both sides. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to call this the right side, and that's the left side. My gun's facing this way. This would be the left side, that would be the right side. But they only got one decal on the front up here, none in the back, and the same way over here, one on the front, none in the back. So I got to looking at that decal. That is number 20, I believe. Let me find it. Yep, number 20. So I'm looking at the decal here. And once again, I have to get my magnifiers out. And it says, now I don't speak German real good, but Richter, Traeger, Vroom, or Vroom. And then the other one says Richter, Traeger, Hinton. And then the other one says, let me just cut this short. One is right front, right, let me see. Yeah, right front, left rear, left rear. Okay, that's what it's telling me, because I had to get on the internet and I had to decipher German. Okay. Now they're giving me 4 decals. 2 right fronts and 2 left rears, or right front, left rear, right. Let me let me look at this again. Right front, right rear. There you go. Left front, left rear. Okay. Well, there would be the left front, there would be the right front. Okay, but where does the left rear and right rear go? There's no decal back there. I even looked at the box art, they don't show it. And it definitely can't go on the inside because there are so many parts go together in here. You got all this got to go in here, right where that decal should be, this box is at, and the same way it would, I think this is the rear. You got all this part going on there in this box, so this whole area is taken up where that decal should be. So I can't go on the inside, but they're giving me a front and rear decal, but no place to put the rear decal, nowhere to show me. Nowhere in the directions, nothing. Just tell me where that decal goes. So like I said, I'm going to have to get on the internet, see if I can get some pictures of the real gun and see if that decal shows up anywhere. If not, I might just stick it on there because there is room there for it. So I imagine, you know, why they done this was so when it come time to assemble it, you know, they knew that number 1 car was over here, number 2 car was over there, but it's too complicated. The whole gun is too complicated, you know. But I might be changing some numbers around. It just don't make sense to me to put even numbers on this side with odd numbers there. Odd numbers on this side with even numbers there. So it might be getting changed around. I think I might change these numbers around. These will stay the same. This one here. 1 and 2. 3 and 4. But I think I'll just leave these the same. But it just don't make sense, you know. Why wouldn't you assemble car number 1, car number 2, car number 3, and car number 4? Why you got to mix them all up? It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Them guys are probably standing out there with directions themselves in their hands. Now wait a minute, where's number 6 go? But it definitely doesn't make sense. I'm going to switch these around. The odd numbers will be on the odd number side. And what I'm going to do with that other set of decals, I don't know yet. And these little boxes in here that get assembled. These little boxes. There's the left front, right front, left rear, right rear. I think that's the way it goes, or whatever. But I gotta watch those. I gotta pay real close attention to those. And like I said, you can just barely see these things. I can't hardly read them. That's these ones down here. Left front, right front, left rear, right rear. Yep, that's what those are there. So, and those little circles that we're talking about, I just lost my number. Those little circles that we're talking about on the front of these bumpers, how I didn't have them. Well, they give you a decal for that, and it goes on every one of them. And I need 2, 4, 6, 8. Is that correct? 2, 4, 6, 8. I need 8 circles, and I got 15. And it is number 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 circles. Now why have I got so many circles? Because they're not a different size, they're all the same size. There's only one goes on there. I don't know. Alright, so I gotta get back on the computer tonight, do some research, figure these decals out, and pay close attention to what I'm doing, that I get the right and the left figured out, and the front and the back figured out. Gotta pay close attention to that. So, probably be putting decals on tomorrow. And another thing, I mean, these decals are just, this must have been an afterthought for them. This one decal here, I don't know which one it is, what number it is, but there's a star on here, okay? I believe it goes right up here. I put those little stars on there. Well, they don't tell you in the directions. That little star goes on top of that decal. That decal is right on both sides. It's stupid. So if I got room, I'm going to move that decal down to where it'll fit between that and the star. Otherwise, I got to cut that decal in half, and there's no way I can get it underneath them little points on that star. Just ain't going to fit. So it's either I cut the decal in half or I slide it down to one side and see if it'll fit. So they don't tell you that in the directions. You know, put the decal on first before you put that star on there. That'd be too easy. Alright. That's where I'm at. I think that's going to be it for the week, because this is driving me nuts. I'm going to go up, like I said, get on the computer. Alright, thanks for watching.